Hi, this video is about using slicers in pivot tables. So this is going to be a quick lesson. So we have a data set right here, or a range of data. So we have, these are loan disbursements for different subregions, as you can see here, and for the different years. And these are the loan amounts in millions and for the different sectors. So let's just create a pivot table quickly here by going to, well, first of all, I'm going to place the cell pointer within the data set. There's no need for me to select the entire data set as long as I don't have any gaps in my data or blank rows or blank columns. I'm fine. And the title is separated from the data. So I'm going to go to Insert and then Pivot Table right here. And as you can see, the selection is already made for me for this data set right here. And I just want to create my pivot table in a new worksheet. There it is. So my pivot table is now in sheet 2. I'll just build the pivot table quickly by placing the values item first, which is the loan amount. So I'm going to drag it right here. So you see the total loan amount is, I believe this is $3.4 billion. And we can have the sector. Let's see here. Let's have the year. I'm going to drag it over here to the row section. And I am going to place the subregion in the column section. There it is. So that's just one layout. As you know, in pivot tables, you can change the layouts of your summary data. Of course, your summary data is represents or is an aggregate of all these records here, separate regions, separate years, and of course separate loan amounts and sectors. But here we put them together and laid the data out in a more understandable and easier to the eyes version kind of summary in our pivot table. Now what we want to do is to create what we call a slicer for the pivot table. Now let me see here. I'm just going to change the layout here. I'm going to drag subregion here under year. So you see there's a different layout there by year, then by subregion. And I'd like to, maybe I'll just switch this around. I'll put year under subregion. So see, we have the subregions first, then the years and the loan amounts. So there it is. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. There. So that's my pivot table. Okay, so as you already know that we can change layouts of the pivot tables. And let me just insert a slicer for the pivot table. What is a slicer? A slicer is a more visual way to filter your data in a pivot table. So you'll understand this when I create the slicer. So I will just be placing my cell pointer within the pivot table. And I'll go to the pivot table tools menu or tab. And let's try analyze here. And we have an option for slicers here. There it is. Insert slicer. So the slicer can be any of the fields that we have, or the same fields that we have in the pivot table. Okay, so in this case, let me just check this one here, sector, and maybe also for year. And when I click OK, you will see these two panels right here, year and sector. Let me just put year to the right of sector. And so what do we have here? So these two panels allow us to filter the data. For example, so here's our pivot table. I just want to see all loans that were disbursed in the transport sector. So I will click transport here. And now I can see all these amounts in my pivot table, these are all amounts that were disbursed to the transport sector. So if I choose HR, say I suppose human resources sector, these are the amounts. Finance, these are the amounts. And you can even do more filtering by using other slicers, like the slicer for year. And let's say I want to just check everything from the last 3 years, let's say 2016 to 2018. So I'm going to click 2016. I'm going to hold the control key and click the other years, 2017 and 2018. And now I can see here in my summary only those amounts that were disbursed to the finance sector for the years 2016, 2017, and 2018. So as you can see, there's only one disbursement for the finance sector, and that's with the Pacific region. Okay, so this allows you to analyze the information a little further, or to focus on specific details depending on what slicer you're using. And it's a really cool way to filter your data in a pivot table, and it really makes it easier for you to sort of like understand what it does. So let me now, if you want to remove all those filters, just click this button here. For example, I'm going to remove all the filters here, so it's everything's being shown again, all the sectors. And if I click this button, the clear filter, and now it shows again all the years. Okay, so that's a very simple lesson about slicers in pivot tables. Thank you and have a good day.